So first of all, justice. Justice being the overall here is going to be talking about things that need to be corrected, fair and balanced. We could be talking about divorce or separation for some of you here, looking at the Eight of Cups being where you're meeting in the relationship. But I look at this more so as, as somebody needing to make amends for the way that they have acted or the way that they're gonna act. I almost look at this as part of your outcome here where things are gonna be fair and balanced, because it looks like it gets a little bit more stable. But I want to clarify these, but let's start from the beginning here. So you coming in with the World, this is talking about you, hitting a major completion here, getting closure on some issues. They're showing the Ten of Cups. And with justice being the overall, we could definitely be talking about somebody that you're dealing with that has family issues. It could be a past relationship, a past marriage. But you are showing that there's closure on those issues. And as far as the way that this person sees it in terms of you, this means that, that happily ever after, so to speak, is open. But I do kind of look at this as, it's finally coming to a close. But you move into this place here where with the Eight of Cups, it makes me wonder if there are still some things that you're not exactly happy with when it comes to dealing with this person, because I feel like outside influence here. They are showing the Ace of Cups. That to me is basically saying that they're looking at, wanting to have a new opportunity with you. But given the past history here with the Eight of Cups, I think that some of you are probably in a place of wanting to move on, or at least thinking about it. I've put so much into this. You show that there is at least some kind of closure, but it makes me wonder if they didn't actually do what was necessary. That, or you're still waiting for, justice to kind of prevail here, so to speak, or things to be finalized, fair and balanced. But I still see that on their side, though, with that Ace of Cups, there's definitely a want to have an opportunity with you, but they may have pushed you to this point where it's like, it's not good enough, almost. Now, moving out of that, though, with the Six of Swords and them showing the King of Wands, I think that there are some things that you're going to be willing to leave behind in the past, right? So with the Six of Swords, you're moving away from conflict. The conflict directly having to do with someone who has problems with follow through, because that's kind of how I see this. And it's like you're almost willing to look beyond that and wanting to work through or move on from any kind of conflict involving this person. The King of Wands, though, I look at this and think, whether you're dealing with male, female, fire sign, doesn't matter to me. It's the personality. The personality may be showing that this is somebody who may have a short attention span. I kind of look at the King of Wands sometimes and I think, there is at least some kind of wisdom there, right? Wisdom as far as where their passions are leading them. But I see this one and I always see his back turned, and not really paying attention to the details. And are you looking past that? Even though it's something that is an issue here, because clearly at one point you were thinking about like completely walking away from this. Now, coming out of that, though, the Ten of Pentacles, that to me is you wanting to have long-lasting security and stability. But the fact that it's showing up here is, a good indicator that there is a way to get to that. But my problem is that they're not sure on how that is even going to work. Now, before I even get there, though, the Knight of Wands being in between the both of you, that's the fire, the passion, the drive, the let's not care about what's happening in the future. If you're looking for long-term security and stability with this person, that with justice being there is something that needs to be, dealt with, instead of you like looking past it. Especially if it pushed you to a point where you were like done. like done. Now, on the other hand, for some of you, it may be that you have this opportunity coming through. You may have gotten closure on something in the past. They are looking at wanting to have overall happiness, but for you, you may have been through so much that you're like, I don't even want this opportunity. Especially if you're dealing with somebody who has that type of like ADHD personality. That's what I'm getting from this. It's somebody who can't like focus on the long-term part of a relationship, but you're willing to look past it at some point here with that Six of Swords. But anyway, my problem though, either way here, if this is an existing issue with this person or if these are two separate issues that are happening to you, looking at the Seven of Cups finally coming out on this, especially on their side, to me is saying that they're not willing to act on the fantasy. They can see how good things could be, but are they willing to do anything about it? You know, for you, it's more than just the passion and the drive. There's still that want for, you know, some kind of security with this. Looking at the Ten of Pentacles. I look at this and I usually tell people when this shows up with love readings, this is the we're going to be together for the rest of our lives, change our diapers kind of shit. This is long term for you. That is what you're looking at. But with the Seven of Cups on their side, I'm like, You know, so I look at this and I think, would it be fair? Would it be fair for you to accept an opportunity where you're going to have to look past somebody's issues if they're not going to, you know, do what's necessary to bring you, you know, this long-term security and stability? I don't see this as being stable for you. I see you as wanting this. But it's almost like looking at it in a reverse. Like, you know, how is that going to affect the way that you're viewing the long term with this person if you make the choice here to just kind of go along with the passion and see what happens? You know, I don't know that you are comfortable with that. All right. You know, and you get past that. This to me looks like there's going to be something about this person that's going to give you not only a reason to hope here, but a reason to believe that things can be long lasting. Even though right now it's almost like the both of you don't need to be so worried about the future. They sure the hell aren't. You are though. Now, for you, first of all, with the Hangman and looking at the Ten of Pentacles, this is, you know, constantly being in that place of not knowing what to do to get this or waiting on somebody else. They're holding up the show here. And with Strength and the Seven of Cups, it's like they're trying to find the strength to go after, you know, that fantasy, the castle, right, that they're building in the sky. How do we get from here to here? You know, they can see how good this can be. They really do. But there isn't, like I said, a lot of follow through. It's like the short attention span here. But again, it's like they're trying to find the strength. In the meantime, there's not really much that you can do, right? And it makes sense that if this has been a consistent thing with this person that you've thought about, you know, enough is enough. But you're looking past it, though. That's how I see this. Now, after that, with the Seven of Pentacles, this is like, despite the fact that things are not really moving in that direction, you're still reevaluating things. But for them, they're not really sure how to like explain to you what is going on with them. I look at the Page of Swords and I don't really think that this is like being deceitful, but it's not getting the full story. You know, it's only getting part of it here. Now, on the other hand though, you know, this could definitely be about them needing to process the information that you are directly giving to them. You know, like, look, this is not what I expected. I expect more. I expect better out of this, you know, and you see the potential for growth, you know, but you're reevaluating things though, too, based on the way that they're communicating to you. But the thing is, and this is what gets me, is that we're looking at the Page of Cups and the Star coming out of this. So there's going to be the communication of emotions that's going to lead you to feel something new. Feeling something new that's going to lead you to believe that, you know, this could be long lasting. But those new emotions need to be directed in a way where, you know, you're just enjoying the passion together. The Star, though, this is more so about them having hope that, you know, this could be the real deal with you, almost. If that makes sense. It doesn't look bad to me, but I don't like the fact that this is somebody who can't just stick to what they, are envisioning in terms of the relationship. It's like, come on, let's go. You got all this fire, this passion, and this drive. Let's make this real, But they may get there. But in the meantime, I almost look at this as the advice, But do you feel like this is the right thing to do for you if we're talking about fairness and balance with justice? But this could also be about them kind of correcting the issues that, you've been dealing with directly involving them. And like I said, for some of you, it can very specifically have to do with waiting on something to be finalized, to kind of see that with justice, and then kicking it off with the 10 of Cups. Waiting for somebody to do what's necessary to end another situation before they begin one with you. But did they actually do that? That is my question. I don't question the emotions here. I don't question whether or not there's an interest. I do believe that there is. But there are some things that are going to have to be fixed for sure with justice. But then in terms of you, like I said, do you feel like it's the right thing for you to do? Do you feel like you're going to be okay with just kind of like jumping on the horse and going along for the ride, even though they're not really doing what's necessary just yet to make this a long-lasting thing? I'm focused on this because when you're looking at the Two of Pentacles, you're talking about somebody who is embarrassed or doesn't feel confident in their ability to approach someone. Now, that could have to do with either cheating or jealousy because of the Tower being there. But there's definitely going to be something that's coming to an end here, and with the Wheel of Fortune, that would suggest that things are working in your favor here. Now, with the Fool, for a lot of you, you may have been in a relationship that you are now moving away from or moving on from. I don't necessarily feel like this is about, a leap of faith or trust in another person, but I think that the reason why some of you may be moving on is because there is a person that you are focused on, male, female, fire sign. But I look at that King of Wands and I think there is a passion for someone. And for a lot of you, you may be looking at this person, though, as a new path. The problem is that there may be another person involved with the Tower being there. And this could be about, the person who is wanting to approach you. They, may have been jealous of your past situation, which is possible. I don't know why I'm picking that up. But looking at death, something is definitely going to be done and over with, right? But really, when you look at death with this deck, it talks about a relationship that is changing. But with the Wheel, it's working out in your favor, though. And that's the thing. What's up with the Fool and the King of Wands? Okay, yeah. So somebody is having a lot of difficulty in trying to explain the way that they feel. And somebody else is in a relationship, I'm telling you, because you look at this and you see the people in the background. This guy's like, God damn it, why can't I just tell this person, right? And then looking at the Tower, that one specifically talks about cheating, deceit, jealousy. And then the Ace of Pentacles, things do work out in your favor. And I think that, oh boy, it looks like to me, like, this is either going to be about, and again, right, you can flip the script on this, but you need to clearly decide what it is that you want, especially if you're the person, though, that is in another relationship here. You may be seeing yourself as single, and you have feelings for another person, them you. But somebody is having a hard time expressing how they feel. One person is looking at it as, this is just fun. Another person is looking at it like, no, there's another situation here that kind of needs to be dealt with. And this definitely can be somebody who is cheating, but it's fun to them, right? But then there's the issue here of the Two of Pentacles and somebody not being able to approach the other person, but I think that has more to do with wanting something more than just this. As wonderful as the Four of Wands is, if you have another party involved, I don't want this to just be fun. I'm not just here to, play games. Like, I feel like for you, it's more about long lasting. And I say that because of the Ace of Pentacles. The Ace of Pentacles is beyond sex. This is, the long-term relationship, but the start of that and wanting to work toward that. There's a lot more that's there, but like I said, something is definitely going to be coming to an end, and it could have to do with another person being involved, definitely going away, and things starting to work out for you, things changing in a good way. But it starts with a previous situation coming to an end. So you may be waiting for somebody to, get out of a relationship. You may already be involved with them though, and that may be for some of you. You may already be involved with them, but they're involved somewhere else. But that is coming to an end though. Financial issues. I'm looking at that first and how this is kind of like tying into what's going on, because there's definitely somebody who is very emotional right now and feeling a lot, but the other person here just can't make that connection. It can't be forced. But looking at the King of Cups, no matter who you're dealing with here, there's love, there's romance, there's somebody who is emotionally open, loving, supporting. But the other person though, with the Queen of Wands, is kind of like, I almost feel like they're interested in someone else, or, wanting to not really be tied down to a relationship. Because I look at her as somebody who is not available. But then when you're looking at the Six of Pentacles with that, this is about, somebody who feels like they're not getting the attention that they're wanting. And it's because somebody else is not, doing that. They may be giving their attention somewhere else, and I'm not necessarily saying cheating here though. And that's the thing, but we'll clarify. But I move into the Four of Pentacles and I look at, where you couldn't make the connection before. There's at least some attempt, but, somebody needs to try harder. And with the Hermit, and like I said, this could be you or the person that you're with the Hermit. This is not what they had, expected. This is not what they want. They want this, and that's what they're focused on trying to make happen here. But the other person just isn't into it though. So I look at finances and career, and I think that, you may be giving attention to your career, or somebody else is giving more attention to their career, and that may be why we're not really necessarily looking at a cheating situation here. But somebody just is coming into this not feeling the connection, where somebody else is, for sure. Yeah, somebody is still wanting to put themselves out there, because I think that they're not feeling like they're getting enough. Now, with the Queen of Cups showing up with this, the sad thing is that the connection emotionally is very good. But physically, it's not happening. It's just not happening. There is definitely an emotional understanding and love and an emotional connection. But somewhere along the way here, there's going to be a break in that, where physically, it's not happening. And somebody here with the Nine of Pentacles, it's like they clearly have a strong emotional attachment to you. But for you, it's almost not there. Now, definitely we can flip the script on that. We could be talking about the other person that is, not really into it. At one point they may have been, but something is changing here. And with the Six of Wands, that is somebody, wanting attention, wanting to put themselves out there. Now, that may be this person, though, that has a fixation on you, because the Nine of Pentacles could definitely be looked at as an obsession, but it's not bad. Now, normally the Nine of Pentacles would suggest that this is about somebody who is attached, but the other person does not want to be out in the open about the relationship, which can be possible for some of you. But one person in this situation, whether it's you or the person that you are with, are desperately wanting some attention, and they're not getting it. They're not getting it. That's the problem. I think that there's an attempt to try, But looking at the Hermit, I get the feeling here that coming out, it's just not, it's like going back to the drawing board almost. I've tried this, but that's not working, and what I want is this. How do I make that happen? And they're still putting themselves out there and wanting attention. Or we're talking about the other person who is constantly putting themselves out there. And maybe the problem between you and a person that you're with may have to do with money and career.